Well, good evening, everybody. Hey, it's Linda Anderson here from Linda Lou Creates. Thanks for joining me this Sunday evening. And I wanted to share some stamp sets and cards that I've created using things from the annual catalog. I feel like whenever there's a new mini catalog, I kind of put the annual catalog on the back burner. So this time I wanted to pull out the Garden Birdhouses stamp set. So that's what I've done today for these two cards. So one of them, you can tell immediately there's the birdhouse. Maybe not so much with this one. So let me show you what I did with both of these. Each of them have like a little technique involved. So I want to start with this one right here. So let me get all the supplies you're going to need. So first up, here we go. My card base is soft suede. Being the landscape version, then that means that it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Inside, I used a sentiment again from that stamp set, and then I just put a little bird on top of it and just used a marker just to add. I don't know if you can see it. Let me bring it up just a little closer. Hopefully I don't make it all blurry. But there is that little bit on his chest there of some so saffron. There we go. I have 5 1/4 by 4, same thing as what's on the inside of the basic white, stamped again in soft suede, the sentiment then from the stamp set. All right, so here we go. What I'm going to be doing some of my stamping on, this is 2 1/8 by 3 1/2. So saffron, I actually went 1/4 of an inch bigger, 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. So before I go ahead and adhere this down, we're going to do a little stamping on this one. And then I just wanted to show you the birdhouse itself. I stamped it in soft suede. I started off first thinking, oh, I let it dry. I should be good as far as using my blends. When, I don't know, here again, let me bring it up close, and you can see how the brown bled and created sort of like an orange color then. So I ditched the blends, and I'm just using the Stampin' Rite markers. So I used So Saffron and Garden Green on this. So then I die cut out. I have using one of the stitched rectangles, and let me just measure this real quick. It's about 1 1/4 by not quite 1 3/4. So I have a piece of Garden Green then that's a little bit bigger than that. So it kind of gets adjusted because these are not perfect numbers then for me. So anyway, I just wanted to show you this, but before I'm going to go ahead, I'll adhere that down. But first, let's get a little bit of stamping done. I forgot to grab a, let me just get some scrap paper that I have here. I just used some things that, instead of throwing it away, I have a pile of scrap that I use. So here's my 2 1/8 by 3 1/2. And first thing I'm going to do is, let's get sort of where I'm going to have the birdhouse be. And then I'm going to ink up using the soft suede the pole for our birdhouse. Now, I have to turn this sideways. Sorry if that gets you a little crazy, but let me go ahead and I'm going to just stamp that down about in the middle. Doesn't really matter how far up, because this is going to then cover that up. So maybe if I turned it back the right way. All right, and then I wanted to add just a little bit of some color to it, so I am using the grass stamp and some Garden Green. All of these, like I said, are coming from that Garden Birdhouses stamp set. Now, I know I don't normally, I usually have things already stamped whenever I do my videos here, but I thought I would just show you what I did there. So, all right, like I said, that is Garden Green. Now it's time to get it all put together. As soon as I find my glue, here it is. So here, I'm gonna get my birdhouse down to the garden green layer. I already have some dimensionals on it, figuring I would save time. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and adhere my pole and grass, my stamped layer here. And I have that on the So Saffron, and it already has some dimensionals on the back as well. So now, before I go ahead and get this adhered down as it's slipping on me, that's the curse and that's the positive and the negative, I guess, of using the liquid glue, is you can get it to move on you whether you want to or not. So, all right, so before I get any of this put down, I want to take care of the bottom layer here, this piece of white. Now, sometimes you can run it through your embossing machine with an embossing folder. I decided instead to use, and I don't know if I'm catching it with the light, just some score lines here. So let me grab my scoreboard and bring that up in here. Hopefully I won't bump anything. Okay, so I have, so this is 4 inches across. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to score it right down the middle at 2 inches, and then 1/4 of an inch on either side of it a couple times. But I like the side that's pushed out to be on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. So like I said, this is 4 inches. So let me find the 2, and I'm going to go straight down. So now I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch. I think I did 1/8 of an inch actually. So let me do 1/8 of an inch here. I can do that because these are the lines here for it are at 1/8 of an inch increments. So as you notice, all I did was flip it this way. It just helps because I like being able to hold it with my left hand. So this is still at the 2 inch mark. So let me go at 2 1/8 and then 2 1/4. And there we go. Whoops. And now it's just something simple, just a little eye-catching, a little texture that is just fun, and really it didn't take much for you to do. So there it is. Now, let me go ahead and get this adhered down. So this is going straight down to my card base of the soft suede. And now let me go ahead and pop down. Yes, lots of dimensionals. Lots and lots of dimensionals. I love using, whenever I pop something on the bigger side up with dimensionals, I love using the ends of them. So then that way you don't have to sit there and watch me remove the backing paper. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And I do have my little birdhouse. This is almost similar to, it's similar. It is not the spotlighting technique, but the idea of it is still sort of there, where you just use a portion of your image that you color up and pop up to highlight that portion. So I can go anywhere I want on this now. There we go. And a couple little embellishments. First of all, I have a piece of linen thread that I've tied a bow. Here it is. I'm going to grab a mini glue dot. Kind of roll it up on itself here. And I will plop that right here, right under the birdhouse, kind of on the pole there. And where did I go? Oh, it's right in front of me. I will pop that down. And then I sometimes you have to still kind of work it under the knot of your ribbon or your linen thread sometimes. So I'm doing that. Let me just trim those tails. I personally don't like long tails on my ribbons, so you do you, whatever you want as far as the ribbon goes. So, all right, time to get the last. These are the glossy dots, I believe is what they're called. And I love the bright yellow one here, so I'm just going to put 2 of those. The other thing I like about this is the fact that they're all relatively flat. So I just don't like where I placed it. This one seems to be a little crooked, so let me just move it. There we go, much better. All right, so there's card number 1, doing a little bit of coloring, using the markers, a little bit of scoring to add some texture. And let's move on to card number 2. Now, here it is. And I'm going to show you then, here are the flowers. Let me bring that stamp set back in. And it is this little sprig of flowers right here that I'm using. So I'm going to find all the stuff I need here. So, all right, my card base is Night of Navy. This time doing it my favorite way, of the top folding. So that means it's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Inside, I just did that little hello with another one of the flower stems stamped in there. I have a piece of, I am always looking at ways in which to use my designer series paper because I have so much of it. So this is actually again from the annual catalog, Hues of Happiness. So I don't know if seeing this side of it is like, oh yeah, I remember that, seeing that in the annual catalog. This time I'm just using this side. That's what I like about the designer series papers, is there's 2 sides. One is the more decorative and more themed. The other is a little more geometric. So that's what I like about that. So, all right, let me get this on real quick. And I knew I wanted like yellow and green. So I found a designer series paper that featured the Daffodil Delight and the Granny Apple Green. So I went with it. All right. Let's go with this now. We're talking, this is the Brights 6x6 designer series paper. This is 3x3. Night of Navy is 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. So let's get this adhered together. These are a must-have here too. That way, because it comes in the subtles, the regals, the neutrals, the brights, and the in colors. So make sure you get them. Because then you'll always have the color that you want. So speaking of in colors, don't forget the in colors of what Soft Succulent and Evening Evergreen, Polished Pink, excuse me, Pale Papaya and Fresh Freesia, they are retiring here soon. So if you want, please get, because those like the papers, the inks, the refills, they go quickly. So please be sure and get them before they retire or are sold out. So, all right, I'm gonna pop this down now and let's get ready to do a little more stamping. I'm gonna bring in my fancy piece of scrap paper. My square is 2 by 2. I have a piece then that I'm going to mount this on of Night of Navy, 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. So what I have is the stamp, the stems, and the flower. Now there's 2 colors to it. Let me bring back in the sample, the green and the yellow. So here, yet again, I'm using the Stampin' Right markers. I have the Daffodil Delight and I have the Granny Apple Green. So this is where you can add color directly to your stamps by using your markers and coloring right on them. All right, so let me get some of these. I already have this done up, so you don't have to watch me stamp it, because I did it 3 times to go across the cardstock, this cardstock piece. So I won't make you sit and watch me do it, but we are going to do one stamping of it. So I did the Granny Apple Green. Let me come in now with the Daffodil Delight. Now the thing is, yes, that the Granny Apple Green's been kind of sitting on there. I don't want to say it's dry now, but one of the things, I see I missed a leaf, so let me just come back here and do that. You can do is huff on it. I'm sure you've heard that before. You huff on your stamp to kind of reactivate the wet on that, and then we can go ahead, stamp that down, and here's our 2 colors. Now I love the fact that it's not like precise. I like the sort of abstract kind of look to this. So this is what I did all the way across. Like I said, 3 times I did it, tried to kind of go up and down with my stamp so they weren't all uniform lines straight across. This then got mounted onto, like I said before, a 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and this is then what I have here. Let's go ahead. I put some dimensionals on the back of this, and we're going to go ahead and get this put down. So now right in the center, I just like this because I can use pattern paper and show it off. You don't even have to stamp on this one, this 2-inch one. You could actually put pattern paper there, designer series paper there, and create even, you know, a different look to it then. Add a sentiment, you are good to go. Now, as far as the sentiment goes, I have this just a note. I do need some just, you know, like thinking of you, hello type cards. This actually comes from the Conversation Bubbles stamp set. So I like that just a note because it's small enough that I can then either die cut or punch out, and then I have a layer of the Granny Apple Green underneath. By the way, this is Night of Navy that I did the stamping on, or the stamping with. So let's go ahead and get this down right here in that upper corner. And then from here, all I did was add a couple pearls. So let's do that real quick. Sometimes I'm just never sure if I want to put the pearls within the flowers. It's like that's almost expected. And sometimes I don't. So, so I just like to kind of move it around. See? And there we go. So it's different. They're not in the same place as here. So that's kind of the fun thing about it. So, okay, let me bring back the other one. The one that actually has one of the birdhouses on it. And here are the 2 cards. Did you notice that there is no designer series paper on this card? I just wanted to point that out because you know me. I love using my designer series papers. So anyway, hey guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment asking. I would be more than happy to answer. So otherwise, hey, you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Alrighty, bye now.